Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're diving into the world of Liat Portal and her Substack, The Liat Show. My journey to infinity, a story unfolding across timelines.
Oh, yeah. Liat Portal. Her work is fascinating.
It is. Today we'll uncover what makes it so captivating.
You know, what's so interesting about Liat is that she calls herself an architect.
An architect?
Yeah, but not of buildings or software.
I'm intrigued.
She's an architect of stories.
Okay, I'm starting to see where this is going.
She weaves together all these different topics, you know.
Like what?
History, music, science.
Wow.
Even her own entrepreneurial adventures.
It's true. I mean, it's really hard to categorize the Liat Show. She releases these sets of posts that are focused on a specific theme.
It's like chapters.
Right, like chapters.
Yeah.
They're spread out over a few days.
Yeah, and she describes her style as being like music.
Music.
A smooth flow.
It's meant to be enjoyed.
Yeah, not your typical blog, right?
Definitely not your typical blog.
And the fact that she's calling herself an architect, it suggests there's a deliberate structure and purpose behind her work.
Yeah, she's not just randomly throwing ideas out there.
Exactly.
So in a recent post titled, From Bareka's Brunch to Foodie Disorder, How Food Connects Us All, Liat introduces this concept.
Foodie disorder.
Yeah, foodie disorder. Now, before you think it's a medical diagnosis,
Right.
It's not.
So what is it?
Well, it's more like an obsessive need to go beyond just what's on the plate.
It's about unlocking history and culture.
Yeah, even personal growth.
It's like that foodie FOMO, but on a deeper level.
You'll find Liat connects this idea of foodie disorder to her love of burekas.
Burekas.
Yeah, those savory pastries popular in Israeli and Mediterranean cuisine.
Oh, yeah, I love burekas.
She even shares her personal recipe.
Interesting.
What's interesting is that she uses 3 different types of cheese in her recipe.
Hold on, 3 cheeses.
Yes, 3 cheeses.
Wow, that's some serious dedication to flavor.
Right.
Liat's making a point here. You see, it's about that layered approach.
I guess
Much like her storytelling itself.
Uh-huh.
And burekas have this amazing history.
Tell me more.
They date back centuries, originating in the Ottoman Empire.
Wow, I never thought of it that way.
When you bite into a burekas,
Yeah,
you're tasting centuries of history. It's pretty cool.
that is pretty cool.
And Liat breaks down her cheese choices so thoughtfully.
Okay.
You start with a base, like
Hold on.
cream cheese.
Uh.
Then you add something for saltiness, like feta.
Okay.
And finish it off with a melty cheese, like mozzarella.
For the creamy texture.
Exactly. It's almost scientific.
Right.
Okay, so maybe you're not rushing to make burekas tonight.
Probably not.
But Liat does offer a roadmap. She even suggests looking for pre-made ones.
Pre-made burekas, where would you even find those?
At Israeli or Mediterranean bakeries.
Makes sense.
Or grocery stores.
Oh, good.
Especially the Nuva brand.
So you can still experience this taste of history even if you're not a master chef.
Exactly.
This recipe, though, it's just a taste of what Liat does.
It is. What's fascinating is how she builds this whole world,
What do you mean?
where seemingly unrelated things connect.
Okay.
Almost like she's creating this tapestry of Israeli culture.
Yeah.
She even says, only pizza can bring world peace.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Which is obviously a bit tongue-in-cheek,
Yeah,
but it highlights the power of food to bring people together.
it does.
Food can spark curiosity about other cultures.
For sure.
It can even lead to a deeper understanding and appreciation.
Yeah. Have you ever had that experience?
Absolutely. So many times I've been hesitant to try something new,
Right.
and then it becomes my new favorite dish.
It's true.
Food has a way of breaking down barriers and opening our minds to new experiences.
It's like that first tentative bite of something completely unfamiliar.
Yeah.
That moment of stepping outside your comfort zone
Right.
and discovering a whole new world of flavor.
And Liat's really good at capturing that feeling in her writing.
She is.
It makes you want to go on a culinary adventure.
And that's just one example of how she brings her personal experiences into her writing.
Yes.
You'll find she blends episodes from her own life with these explorations of Israeli culture.
Yeah.
She's not just an observer, she's a participant.
Right.
And she invites you to join her on the journey.
And that's what makes her work so captivating. It's not just about the information, it's about the experience.
The connection.
Yeah, the shared journey of discovery.
It's about finding those moments of aha and saying, wow, I never thought about it that way before.
Exactly.
It's like she's taking you by the hand.
And saying,
Come explore this with me. Let's see what we can discover together.
I love that.
And that sense of shared exploration is what makes her work so unique and engaging.
You know, another thing that struck me is how Liat describes her Substack as unfolding, like a live performance.
Yeah. Interesting.
It's like she's inviting you to be a part of the creative process.
To see the story unfold in real time, it's
Yeah.
very different from the typical polished and pre-planned content you see online.
Right.
And that rawness,
Yeah.
that vulnerability,
It's incredibly refreshing.
it makes you feel like you're getting a glimpse into her mind,
Like you're really there.
into her creative process.
Yeah, and it's exciting to see where she'll take us next.
It really is.
Okay, so we've got this architect of stories weaving together food, culture, personal experience.
Where does she go from here?
That's what we'll delve into next. Remember, she doesn't just stick to one topic.
Right.
She's always finding new connections, new ways to surprise you.
This is where it gets really interesting.
Are you ready to dive deeper?
Absolutely. Let's do it. You know, it's like that foodie disorder always seeking a deeper meaning.
Right.
Leah's saying even in tech, that human connection is key.
It's like she's constantly pushing us to look beyond the surface to find those unexpected connections,
And she does it so seamlessly.
weaving these personal stories into broader cultural observations.
Yeah, it's what makes the Leah show so unique.
Speaking of unexpected connections, Liet's next set of posts takes us into the heart of Startup Nation.
Startup Nation.
Are you ready to dive into the world of Israeli tech?
Absolutely. I'm always fascinated by how Israel has become such a global hub for innovation.
Me too.
But knowing Liat, I'm sure she's got a unique take on it.
Oh, you bet. In a post titled Startup Nation's Unsung Heroes, The Power of Tech Support.
Tech support.
Yeah, she flips the script.
Right.
We usually think about the brilliant engineers and visionary CEOs,
Right.
but Liet shines a spotlight on the often overlooked heroes of the tech support teams.
That's so Liat. Always finding the deeper meaning, the human element behind the scenes.
Right. She argues that these tech support individuals are the front lines.
The front lines.
They're the ones interacting with customers,
solving problems.
gathering valuable feedback.
And ultimately helping shape the product and the company's direction.
It's like they're the bridge between the creators and the users.
Exactly. And she connects this idea to the concept of customer obsession that's so big in tech today.
Customer obsession.
But she takes it a step further.
How?
She argues that the best tech support professionals are the ones who have empathy and compassion.
It's not just about fixing a bug.
No.
It's about understanding the user's frustration and putting yourself in their shoes.
And offering genuine help.
Precisely. It's that human touch, that ability to connect on a personal level that makes all the difference.
It does.
And it makes me think back to Liet's Barekas post.
Mm,
Remember how she talked about food as a way of building connections and showing hospitality?
I do.
It's like she's seeing that same principle at work in the tech world, even in something as seemingly technical as tech support.
It's that thread of connection, that emphasis on human relationships.
That runs through all of Liet's work.
Yeah, and it's incredibly powerful.
It reminds us that even in the most technical fields, it's the human connections that ultimately matter most.
It's true.
And you know what's really interesting is how Liet approaches her writing process.
Oh, tell me more.
She doesn't spend months crafting the perfect article.
Really?
She writes over the weekends and evenings,
Oh, great.
publishes as she goes.
So she's creating this sense of immediacy and authenticity.
Ex-
It's almost like you're getting a glimpse into her thought process as it unfolds.
Right, yeah.
It's raw.
It's vulnerable.
And it's incredibly engaging.
It makes you feel like you're part of the conversation.
Like you're right there with her as she's exploring these ideas.
And she's not afraid to be bold.
What do you mean?
She claims to be creating the most extraordinary story ever told.
The most extraordinary story ever told. That's a pretty big statement.
It is, but I think she's onto something.
What makes you say that?
Remember how she sees her audience as active participants?
I do.
It's like she's building this collaborative narrative where everyone has a role to play.
So it's not just her story, it's our story.
It's a story that's constantly evolving and expanding, redefining itself through the contributions of her audience.
Exactly. And that's what makes it so extraordinary.
It's not just a story being told.
It's a story being created in real time.
It's a living, breathing entity that's shaped by the collective energy and curiosity of her community.
And she uses all these different platforms, Substack, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Patreon, to create this multidimensional experience.
It's true.
It's not just about reading words on a page.
No.
It's about being part of a community, engaging in conversation, supporting her work directly.
It's like she's created this whole ecosystem around her storytelling.
And it's growing organically fueled by the passion and engagement of her audience.
It's a really smart strategy, especially in today's world where people are craving connection and authenticity.
You mentioned earlier that you'd invest in the Liat Show if you were a VC.
I did.
I'm starting to see why. She's tapping into something really powerful.
It's not just about the content. It's about the experience, the community, the shared journey.
Exactly. And she's doing it with such a unique voice and perspective.
She's not afraid to be vulnerable,
To share her personal experiences.
to challenge conventions.
And that's what makes her work so compelling.
She's not just telling stories. She's building bridges between ideas,
Between people.
between cultures.
She's creating something truly special.
And this brings us back to that initial mystery.
What mystery?
What does she mean by calling herself an architect of stories?
Right.
What kind of structure is she building with her work? What's the blueprint?
Well, that's where it gets really fascinating.
Okay, I'm listening.
Remember, Liat calls herself the daughter of the greatest storyteller of all time, who also happens to be an architect of buildings.
So storytelling is literally in her DNA.
And maybe it's this combination of artistic vision and structural thinking that allows her to create such intricate and engaging narratives.
It's like she's inherited this blueprint for storytelling.
This understanding of how to create something that is both beautiful and functional.
It's like she's building a house of stories, with each room representing a different aspect of her life, her culture, her worldview.
And she's inviting us to come in, explore, and make ourselves at home.
That's a great analogy.
It's like she's created this welcoming space where you can wander from room to room,
Discovering new treasures,
making unexpected connections.
and ultimately feeling a sense of belonging.
And the way she releases her posts in sets spread out over several days.
Right.
It's like she's giving you time to settle into each room, to absorb the atmosphere, to appreciate the details before moving on to the next.
It's a very deliberate and thoughtful approach to storytelling.
She's not just throwing information at you,
She's curating an experience.
guiding you through this world she's created with such care and intention.
It's like she's saying, take your time, savor each moment. There's no rush. This story is meant to be unfolded slowly, like a delicate flower blooming in the sun.
And as you're exploring this house of stories, you start to realize that it's not just about Liat's life or her experiences.
It's about our lives, our experiences.
It's about the universal themes of connection, belonging, identity, purpose, and the search for meaning.
It's like she's holding up a mirror.
It's saying.
This is what it means to be human. This is what it means to be alive. Let's explore it together.
And that's what makes her work so powerful.
It's not just entertaining, it's transformative.
It changes the way you see yourself,
The way you see the world.
the way you see your place in it.
It's like she's giving you a new lens through which to view the world. A lens that reveals the beauty, the complexity, and the interconnectedness of everything.
And as you continue to explore the Liat Show, you realize that the house of stories she's built is constantly expanding, growing, evolving.
It's a living, breathing entity that's shaped by the collective energy and curiosity of her community.
And you realize that you're not just a visitor in this house.
You're a co-creator.
You're an integral part of the story that's unfolding.
You have a voice.
You have a perspective.
And you have the power to shape the narrative.
And that's what makes it so exciting.
You never know what you're going to discover next, what connections you're going to make, what insights you're going to glean.
It's a never-ending journey of exploration and discovery.
And that's the beauty of Liat Show.
It's a story that never ends.
Now, wouldn't it be fascinating if we could connect with Liat directly and get her insights on all of this?
To ask her about her creative process, her approach to storytelling, and her vision for the future of the Liat Show.
That would be amazing. I'd love to hear her thoughts on what it means to be an architect of stories and how she sees her audience as active participants in this grand narrative experiment.
Well, you're in luck. Because in our next segment, we'll be doing just that.
We have a special interview with Liat Portal herself, where she'll share her insights on everything we've discussed today and more.
This is where it gets really exciting. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with our exclusive interview with Liat Portal after a quick break.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We've been exploring Liat Portal's captivating world and her unique approach to storytelling. We left off talking about Liat as an architect.
An architect of stories, what does that even mean?
Right. And how does her audience actually help her build these narratives? It's not just reading and liking posts. There's something much deeper going on.
Right.
I think this is where the digital platforms she uses become really crucial.
Platforms. Like which ones?
Substack, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Patreon, all of them.
It's not just about delivering the story. It's about creating a space for the story to actually grow.
Right.
Think about it. You can comment.
React.
You can even directly support Liat's work.
That feedback loop is really unusual for a storyteller.
It is.
It's almost like she's crowdsourcing inspiration.
Not just from her own life, but from her readers' lives, too.
Exactly. And that makes the most extraordinary story ever told idea even more intriguing.
Because it's not one person's story.
It's a collective effort.
And in a world where content is everywhere, attention is the real currency.
It's true.
Liet's figured out that building a community, not just an audience, is what makes her work stand out.
And it's not just smart, it's generous.
Generous.
She's giving her readers agency. She's inviting them to be co-creators.
Oh, I see. You're not just consuming.
You're contributing to something larger. It's like a shared intellectual adventure.
Exactly. Which brings us to why you might be so drawn to Liet's work. It's not just the topics she covers. It's that feeling of being a part of something special, right?
I think so. There's that human element, the vulnerability,
Mm-hmm.
the willingness to say, I'm figuring this out as I go, come along with me. That's rare in the polished world of online content.
It's true.
And it speaks to a larger trend we're seeing, people craving authenticity and real connection.
Liet's not just broadcasting.
He's inviting you into a conversation.
Speaking of conversation.
We actually got to have a conversation with Liet.
You're kidding!
We have a special interview coming up where she shares her insights on everything we've been discussing.
Oh, this is so exciting.
Get ready for some behind-the-scenes access. Liet talks about her creative process, her inspiration, even what she really means by architecting stories.
I can't wait.
Welcome back to The Deep Dive. We're thrilled to have Liet Portal joining us today.
It's my pleasure to be here. I love what you're doing with the deep dive. It's so important to explore ideas in this way.
Well, you're certainly giving us plenty to think about with The Liet Show. We've been discussing your unique approach to storytelling, how you weave together personal experiences, cultural insights, and even your love of food.
We were particularly intrigued by your concept of foodie disorder. Can you tell us more about what that means to you?
You know, foodie disorder is more than just a catchy phrase. It's about that insatiable curiosity.
That need to go beyond the surface.
Yes, to explore the stories, the history, the cultural significance behind it.
It's about understanding how food connects us all.
Exactly, and that's what I try to do with The Liet Show, whether it's exploring the history of Burekas,
Or the unsung heroes of Startup Nation.
or reflecting on my own personal journey. I'm always looking for those deeper connections, those threads that weave together seemingly disparate ideas and experiences.
And you do it so seamlessly. Your writing has this beautiful flow,
Thank you.
like a river meandering through different landscapes, revealing hidden treasures along the way.
That's a lovely way to put it. I often think of my writing as a conversation, a journey we're taking together, and I want it to be enjoyable.
Speaking of the reader, you've said that your audience isn't just passive. You see them as active participants in the story you're creating. Can you elaborate on that a bit?
Absolutely. I believe that storytelling is a collaborative process. I'm not just writing at my audience, I'm writing with them,
You're inviting them into the conversation.
encouraging them to share their thoughts and their insights and their own experiences.
And you leverage these digital platforms to create that sense of community and co-creation.
It's amazing how technology allows us to connect with people from all over the world, to share our stories, and to build something meaningful together. It's like we're weaving a collective tapestry
Each thread representing a unique voice.
and perspective.
You've described your Substack as unfolding, almost like a live performance. What does that mean for your creative process?
It means I'm not afraid to be vulnerable, to share my thoughts and ideas as they're developing, to let the story unfold organically. It's a process of discovery for both me and my readers.
That's so refreshing. In a world where everything feels so polished and prepackaged, your work has this raw authenticity.
Thank you.
And you've made this bold statement about creating the most extraordinary story ever told. What does that mean to you?
It's not about ego, it's about the power of collective storytelling. When we bring our individual voices and experiences together, we create something truly extraordinary.
Something that transcends our individual limitations.
Exactly.
We've been fascinated by your self-description as an architect of stories. What does that metaphor mean to you?
Well, like an architect designs a building with a specific purpose and structure, I approach storytelling with intentionality.
You think about the flow, the rhythm.
The connections between ideas.
Mhm.
I'm building a space where readers can wander, explore, and hopefully discover something meaningful.
And you've inherited this love of storytelling from your father.
Who was both a master storyteller and an architect of buildings.
Yes, he instilled in me this appreciation for both the beauty and the functionality of storytelling. He taught me that a well-crafted story can not only entertain, but also inspire, educate, and connect people on a deeper level.
And that's precisely what you're doing with The Liet Show. You're creating a space where people feel seen, heard, and connected.
Leah, thank you so much for sharing your insights with us today. It's been a true pleasure to dive deep into your world.
Thank you for having me. It's been a wonderful conversation.
And for our listeners, if you haven't already, be sure to check out The Leah Show, My Journey to Infinity, a story unfolding across timelines.
You can find it on Substack, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and Patreon.
It's a journey you won't want to miss.
And that's it for this episode of The Deep Dive. We'll be back next time with another fascinating deep dive into the world of ideas and creativity. Until then, keep exploring, keep connecting, and keep telling your stories.